My name is AJ Burton, and I live here in the Grand Rapids area. I am 29 years old. I've actually lived here for about 6 years now. Well, I grew up in a Pentecostal church community, very conservative, but church was always something that was really big for me growing up. But around the time that I was in like junior high, high school, I started to realize that I had same-sex attractions. I think it intensified as I entered high school. But at that point, I was really no longer going to church anymore, but it got to the point during my senior year where I was going off and trying to repress my feelings as much as I could, where I was trying to tell others that it was a sin and that they shouldn't be gay and all of that. In the summer between my senior year in high school and my freshman year at Western, that was when I really realized that this was not a phase. My sexuality was something that it really was a part of who I am. I am gay, and I came out to myself in 1997, and then the following year in 98, I really became more out to other people as well, like friends, whatnot. Not really so much my family. My dad was the one that I was really worried about the most. But like I said, he had grown up Catholic, and for him, the church wasn't really an important part of his life. Like when I was growing up, my brother and I, we'd always go to church with my mom. But my dad, for him, it just really wasn't as big of a thing. But I was more worried about his reaction than I was my mom's. But it turns to find out that my mom is the one that really has more of an issue with it than my dad. They actually found out, well, I had come out to my brother first. I was like 20 when I came out to my brother, and he was 16. And he's been fine with it all along. I mean, he's great about it. I came out to him first, but then about a year later, my parents found out by accident, and that was not very pleasant. My mom and I had a very rough exchange. She and I didn't talk for like about 3 months or so, and eventually we came around. But now it's gotten to the point where my dad and I mean, I'm in a relationship, and my dad and I can talk to him about things that my boyfriend and I do together, but my mom, I can't even mention his name around her. She would just freak out, and to keep the peace, I just decide, you know what, I'm not gonna even go there with her. I still have yet to get to the point where I can introduce him to my parents, but we're not even there yet, so we're just taking it one step at a time. He and I have been together almost 3 years, so it's still rough that he hasn't really met my parents yet. Because of my sexuality, I basically found myself going away from the church. Like my first few years in college, I really wasn't going to any church at all. But then a friend of mine, a few years later, she took me to a Unity church in Kalamazoo, Unity of Kalamazoo, and that was where I realized that, wow, there are really some strong faith communities out there where being gay is an accepted thing, but it's not really an in-your-face kind of thing. It's like more of a quiet acceptance, and it's not really a rah-rah, we're a gay pride kind of church kind of thing. So, but the thing about Unity is that it served a lot of needs for me for a few years, very spiritual based. The problem with it was that it wasn't as Christian as I would have wanted. I attended there for about maybe 3 years or so, and then I moved to Grand Rapids in 2003. I started going to a Unity church here, but it really wasn't what I was expecting it to be. So then I was away from the church for a while and then came back. I explored a few other churches around Grand Rapids, and then finally in 2006 I started going to Westminster Presbyterian Church on a pretty regular basis, where it's very, very gay friendly, but again, it's not like an in-your-face thing. There's a lot of gay couples in the church, and it's just one of those things where everybody is welcome regardless of who they are, but they don't make like a huge deal about the fact that, wow, this is especially great for gay people or whatnot. It's not quite like that, which a little more subtle, so I kind of like that. Like I said, I was away from the church for a few years, my first few years in college, but something just drew me back to wanting to go to the church, and it's been an important part of my life, absolutely.